quote, the Soviet Union was almost a tailor-made refutation of geographic determinism. Explain that.
Oh, the Soviet Union was one of the most richly supplied countries with natural resources, and probably the most richly supplied. It was the only industrial nation which has so much petroleum that they export oil.
Right.
They have some, I don't remember the fraction, but they have a substantial part of the world's supply of natural gas, which they're now supplying all over Europe. Iron ore, manganese, you name it, they had it. At one time, something like half the industrial diamonds in the world came from the Soviet Union. The land was so rich that when Hitler sent his army in to invade the Soviet Union during World War II, he had plans to have the railroads take back this land from Russia into Germany because it was that well known for its
You mean just the topsoil? He was going to send boxcars of topsoil
back
to Germany?
That's right.
I didn't know that.
It's one of the most fertile sections and the irony is one of the world's great famines occurred in the Soviet Union.
How come?
Mismanagement by the government. Milton Friedman once said that if the government took over the Sahara Desert, there would be a shortage of sand. And the Soviet Union, it was just that way.
All right. More on social factors. I'm quoting again from Wealth, Poverty, and Politics. This is tricky ground. There is empirical evidence against genetic determinism. We're talking about IQ scores now. For example, there have been whole communities of whites from isolated mountain regions in America whose average IQs have been similar to or lower than the average IQs of black Americans. But while such evidence undermines genetic determinism, that does not make mental test differences irrelevant. So we're not genetically determined, but disparities among ethnic and racial groups are still worth noting, still consequential. How do we put this?
No, you're seldom hiring a whole group or admitting a whole group to college. What you're doing is judging individuals. And the predictive validity is really a totally separate question from the question of genetics versus environment. See, in other words, if the IQ test does not have a single question about flying an airplane, and you give it to people who want to become pilots, the only real question is, do the scores on those tests correlate with the subsequent performance of people in the air?
Right.
But you see, I mean, it sounds so simple when you say it that way, but the Supreme Court of the United States had a totally different take, that the employer must validate a test that is not job related. And so what they're saying is, it's a question of whether this test seems plausible to third parties who have neither expertise nor experience on the job. And that will be the criterion for whether it's a good test.
All right. Staying on this subject of genetics, race, ethnic groups, and so forth, you talk, again, in Wealth, Poverty, and Politics, you describe three very selective, they're public high schools in New York, but they're very selective. You have to test to get into them. That's Stuyvesant High, your Stuyvesant High, Bronx Science, and Brooklyn Tech. Quote, the triumph of egalitarian principles and demographic diversity in the rest of New York's educational system has not resulted in an increase in the number or proportion of black or Hispanic students passing the admissions tests to get into Stuyvesant, Bronx Science, and Brooklyn Tech. On the contrary, the numbers and proportions of black and Hispanic students have declined substantially over the years at all three institutions, close quote. So, telegram to Mayor de Blasio. As diversity becomes championed in the city of New York over the last 40 years, 50 years, diversity actually diminishes at these very selective high schools. Why?
Well, it's that the diversity really doesn't do anything for you. There are many cultural...
Doesn't do anything for you as a society? Or I'm sorry.
As a society or the people in whose interests you're promoting diversity. In other words, when black Hispanic kids go to schools other than those three, they get a load of diversity. It doesn't do them any good. For example, as of about 2012 or 2014, I forget the exact one, the percentage of blacks at Stuyvesant High School was 1/10 of what it was 33 years earlier. So it's been a major retrogression. And so while they're being taught, their heads full of diversity, the Asian students are learning math and science. Plus, the schools are also, another point against diversity is that in years past, those schools were so heavily Jewish that Stuyvesant was referred to once as a free prep school for Jews. Well, they weren't diverse, but it was very successful. And now Asian Americans outnumber whites by more than 2 to 1 in all 3 of those schools. It's still not diverse, but they're turning out people who do marvelous things. And that's what they're there for, to benefit the society, not to present this tableau that will please a handful of people.